right, here we go, man. We got Curtis, the second stringer, and the awesome superstar Dirk Taylor. It's really his name. From Frozen Fin Fan here tonight to hang out with me. I've just been chatting with him, wrapping up with him like 10, 15 minutes. I found the most remarkable thing. He is German as well. So you're going to have two Germans talking Dolphins football. So it is going to be an explosion of brilliance without a doubt. So I'm hoping my audio is better. Last week, guys, I want to apologize during the game. I covered the game post game. I had the game running in the background, and I think that like sucked up my bandwidth. So I was doing the Robotron voice. So I think we're better for Dirk tonight. So Dirk from Frozen Fin Fan, he's from Alaska. I've been talking with him. A very, very, very interesting guy. If he's half as interesting when it comes to the football stuff, dude, you're going to be in for a show. So Dirk. Mr. Lucky with the awesome name, Dirk. I was saying, if any of the old people out there remember, there was the video game Dirk the Daring. It's the only Dirk I've ever heard. So, anyway, Dirk, tell us about you. How awesome it is to be a man with a superstar name, living in Alaska, driving trucks and talking fins.
How's it going? It's good to be here. Thanks for having me on here. And I'm Dirk. I'm a 40-year-old truck driver from North Pole, Alaska. Yeah, it's a real place, and it's cold. Just like you would think. It's, usually 30, 40 below Fahrenheit right about now. Luckily, we're going through about 20 degrees above zero, so it's a heat wave.
Sweltering.
Just like a lot of Alaskans up here, big into hunting and fishing, and I love fly fishing. I like doing archery. I'm a nationally certified archery instructor.
That's cool, man.
I'm obviously one of probably
you crossbow or bow? Crossbow or bow?
Compound bow for most of my fun. I've been a Dolphins fan since I was 3 years old, and
shooting a bow since 4, right?
Shooting a bow since 5.
I was close. I was trying to make something super. Look, I was trying to make you even superstar by getting totally over the top. I'm like, 4, and you're shooting both by 5. Yep. On horseback, right? Without a saddle.
No. Yeah, we ride moose up here. No, I'm just joking. Oh man.
So yeah, keep going. I'm sorry, I hit the feed. So what else, man? What else?
I've been a Dolphins fan since I was 3 years old. Saw the helmets on TV, and my dad said I said that I thought they were pretty. Yes, and so I've been kind of cursed with that ever since. And there's not many Dolphins fans up here in North Pole, Alaska. And to be honest, I was on Twitter and Facebook and all the Dolphins groups and pages and some of the YouTube channels. Obviously not this one, but saw so many.
Never this one. No, we're always brilliant over here.
So many just negative and just extremely opinionated and inflammatory takes on all this stuff. And I was just, it's like, well, I mean, I played, Pee Wee high school, college football, and I grew
where'd you
up in
play college? Where'd you play?
Out in Oregon for a few years. I played offensive guard, and then they switched me to tight end.
Lineman. Dude, I don't know, man. I think maybe I'm going to marry you, man. A German lineman, offensive lineman. I think I found my soulmate.
I struggled in college.
Sorry, Cody. I think you've been bumped for the German offensive lineman.
I was, 280 pounds playing against 330, 340 pound Samoan guys, and it was tough. So eventually got bumped to play tight end and learned a new position there near the end of my career. And like I said, I learned a lot, and I don't know everything, obviously, but I coached for a few years here and there afterwards. And
man, you got some good stuff.
Always been a part of my life, and I figured, man, maybe I'll just try to do a YouTube channel about football. Here I am.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I didn't know all that stuff. That's a really good resume, man. It's you can bring so much to the table. Obviously, I'll get into that stuff in a little bit. So what do you think, Sean, my man, Sean, what's going on? He says, is Tyreek here next year? Let's start quick with that, and then we'll get back into the Dirk the Daring's amazing life.
Is Tyreek here next year? I don't know. I mean, I don't know about you, but I think I could see that either way. I mean, they'd have to eat a little bit of money if they were to let Tyreek go. But I mean, and I'm not blaming Tyreek when I say this, but part of the reason that we're kind of in the position we are is because we have a GM that likes to spend money in free agency instead of investing in the draft.
Mm.
So, I mean, I personally, I like Tyreek Hill. I know he's got his little shenanigans going on all the time and his issues here and there, but I would really like to see him next year, at least for one more year, just because he may not have all the catches and all the yards this year, but what he's doing on the field from a distraction point of view is huge. You know,
Oh yeah, he sets the leverage way more
yeah,
than Waddle, way more.
yeah, still pulling 2 or 3, even I've seen in a couple of the all 22 plays where 4 of the defensive backfield has floated his way on a play
Oh yeah.
multiple times during every game, and
What does that say though
unreal.
for Waddle then, man? What does that say about Waddle then? If all that coverage is going there, what are you seeing? Why is he not dominating? Because I mean, if you look at Chase and you look at what's the other guy next to Chase, the other guy, I can't remember his name right now. I just woke up a while ago. He's getting all kind. He's having a great season because Chase is drawing all that coverage. Why is that not? Why is Waddle not really having such a breakout year? What are you seeing?
I don't know. I feel like so in from my limited point of view, I feel like Jalen Waddle's playing our number 2, right? And he's still a go receiver. So they've got him running the deeper midfield and deep field routes. And I feel like if since a lot of teams are giving us this certain presentation of cover 2 and even cover 3 or stacks, in defense, I feel like if they would put Jalen at number 3 and slide Odell or River Craycraft out to number 2, I feel like we would see Jalen we would see him go nuts. Jalen Waddle is a great receiver across the middle of the field. Those crossing routes where he's cutting across the field at full speed. If he was doing that a little more instead of outside routes and post routes, I feel like, man, I don't know. Like I said, I'm sure there's a reason they're not doing it, but that would be.
I think it's a great point. It's something I really don't have a clear answer for, and I tell you, my film study is just. I need to dig deeper, and I feel like this middle of this year, the weight of like what I'm seeing is kind of made me a little lethargic to dig because I've felt that we've hit a wall, and I felt like there was no way to break through, and I wasn't digging deep into the film as much as I had in the past. And I think this really kind of like exposed something to myself as like I'm hearing you talk. I got to go back and really, I have some ideas, but I think it's more guesstimations than actual answers. So that's really good, man. Yeah. Okay. So what year did you play? My brother played there too, Sean. What year did you play?
It was D2 schools and D3 schools in Oregon. So that would be 2003 to 2005 was when I played out in Oregon.
2003. Yeah, you're an old dude, man.
I'm old now.
Old now, not as old as me though. Hey Shelby, what's going on, brother? You got a good one, Richard Keys, man. Richard Keys is an old school man like me. Dirk the Dolphin. Yeah, Higgins. There you go, Shelby. I'm sorry, man. My wife I didn't eat really. I've been trying to not eat. Like I do this like intermittent fasting thing, and my wife just made this unbelievable meal. And I ate like 2 helpings, and I went into like a total food coma. I was drooling. There was like pasty drool over my face, like up until like half an hour ago. So the brain is just slowly starting to activate now. Reese is my man. Good evening, guys. Curtis finally making a live. Yeah, I have lives, but I screwed them up. Last time I had the audio sounding like Robotron. But everyone's, you know what it is? I need somebody here to chaperone me, to hold my hand. Dirk's hold my hand. Cody usually holds my hand. Joe holds my hand. Abel's been starting to hold my hand. And the one time I did it by myself, it was a total disaster. So with the Waddle thing, so the way I view it, and please don't, this is not an actually highly vetted, because I've been focusing on so many other things. And I really find like when I used to do film, up until like this season, I was watching it 13 to 14 times, usually half them in super slow-mo or like reverse. But my eval kind of was codified last season. And then when I saw our offensive line was going to be worse. I really felt the weight take out of me. But from what I'm seeing with Waddle, so you're playing all high. It starts with it starts with the leverage from the linebackers, because the linebacker leverage determines everything. If you're at 5 yards, it's totally different than 4. It's totally different at 3. And then depending on how many guys you have sitting at that leverage. And so if you notice that we haven't been doing as much motion and we haven't hit those pocket posts, we're not really attacking the middle, because defenses, they're sitting with that high linebacker leverage, playing the ends out wide. They're focusing on edge runs. They're focusing on the screens. They're focusing on the pocket post, and they're leaving this cavernous hole inside from the 5 down. Now, some teams, they just don't have the talent to man all that stuff, and we've gotten some of it off. But the teams that were able to man it, they get those linebackers, and if you watch, they're not reading the ball as much as many other teams.
Yeah,
they're reacting or they're dropping. And so I think the problem is that they're playing such high pass coverage with such high leverage, blitzing so little that it doesn't matter. And I didn't know. I thought that even with this kind of leverage, because of the talent, we would be able to get more, but we can't. And so I think I got to go into the intricacies and the details of it. But I think it really just starts at the linebacker leverage and the overall philosophy of what the defense comes out with in game planning, and also the lack of blitzing, because all you have to do is blitz one guy, and the space that everybody has to cover, it enhances. And then if you pick up that blitz, then that's how you really hurt the team. So I don't know. That's my 2 cents. Curtis, looking at the salary allocation for our current roster on offense, is it construction entirely on Greer or a product of attempted collaboration with Mike McDaniel's gone wrong? Well, they said the same thing with Gase, and they said the same thing with Flores, and it's now the same thing with McDaniel. But I always look for data points and to create trend lines. And so you would have to believe that Gase's designs of the offensive line were the same as Flores, were the same as McDaniel's, because all the designs have all been the same. And so for me, if you see the construction design the same through 3 regimes and the same problems through 3 regimes, either A, Greer picks guys that have the same philosophy as him, which is obviously the wrong philosophy, or B, he's in charge and he's been dictating the primary philosophies. So I think that Greer starts out amicable, but he's in control, because even in 2019, they're like, well, who's making all the picks? He's like, I had final say. Right. I think he gets lots of cover. I think, even Omar Kelly, who supports him, calls him a survivor. So I think that McDaniel's not a rocket scientist, because he's like, I pounded the table for easy when Zach Tom was there. And that was the most easy. I'm not the, Mr. Draft guy. I only pick a few guys every year, but that guy was so obvious. He was in the house, and he went with Easy, and they went with Tyndall over Zach Tom. So I don't think Flores or Gase or McDaniel are talent gurus. And I certainly don't think that Greer is either. I think he's good in some positions. He's good at running back. But overall, I don't think he is. I think he's in more control, because I think what you saw here with Shaq Barrett is he was flexing his muscles to the public, because he could have just said, hey, guys, Barrett contacted me. We're not going to take them. Just want to let you know. So when you go out there, but he didn't do that. He let them walk out to the podium knowing they were going to get that question. And what does that say? It says that they're not in the know. And if they're not in the know, they're on the outside. It's like the cool crowd. You think you're friends, and all of a sudden they start telling jokes about when they're hanging out the other day, and you're like, why didn't they call me?
They had no idea. They had no idea.
So it was Greer saying, look, I'm in charge in a hush-hush type way. But no one will come and bring that up. So
that was a great question, because my question to that is, if you were given a multiple choice question on a test and none of the answers were right, and you told you had to pick one anyway,
good point.
You're going to pick one. Yeah. And that's kind of what Greer is doing with McDaniel and Gase and Flores. And
very good one, man. Very German of you. I like this.
That's pretty much what it is. It sucks for them because it makes them look like they're responsible. But I mean, I would say 95% Chris Greer on these picks and
Yeah,
on these calls with personnel for
I
sure.
totally agree. It's if you were a GM and you wanted to perpetually protect yourself from failure, what would be the perfect guys in order to keep yourself protected? Well, I'm just doing what they're telling me to do. And so if they screw up, you mean, well, I'm in total charge, but I'm like leaving. And there's so many people that have been hung out to dry that every time somebody works with us, it always leaves in less than amicable terms. And then they always get the media gutting on the way out. Oh, they were evil. They were stupid. They were crazy. Like it's and never once has Chris Greer ever received any of that kind of like scrutiny. And
Never once has he said it's my fault either.
Never, no.
Never.
With even the fans. And that's another thing, too. With the fans, what GM is going to come out and mock the fan base over something so obviously wrong and then lose that bet in the season and then come back the next season and double down in your personnel choices and then double down and we're like, Mike McDaniel, we're just laughing, ha, 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 ha. And then McDaniel coming out and going, this is the most secure and happy I feel about the offensive line. That's somebody who's mentally ill. It's somebody who, no, I'm serious.
I believe you.
If you've got that much power and you've got that much authority, look, the most powerful thing a person can do is be humble and admit you made a mistake. The most powerful thing a person can do is to listen to somebody else and get wiser at the cost of their own ego. And he can't do that. He's a very insecure person. He's a very weak person. He's a person that is passive aggressive. He's a person that smiles at you, but then he'll say a little double meaning thing to you in the background to leave you guessing. He's not a straight shooter. He comes at you from behind. He's just, and he portrays himself. It's as a psychology. And, the human brain is very interesting. It's something I study, but this is what politicians do. They can say something in very nice ways and be totally lying to you or saying something nasty, but they were saying it so nice. They're nice people. But a person could be telling you the truth and be talking in the street, and they'll get angry at you. And so he's got the guys. Somebody was saying that they had Dolphins had the largest media department in the league. And so there is, huge image consultants and image massaging going on with Greer. So I don't like the guy. I don't trust the guy. And I think he's going to set somebody up to fail. So, yeah. What about this one? What about this one there, brother? Unless you want to answer the last one or this one?
I was just going to say Greer's always got somebody lined up for a fall.
Yeah.
Seems always there's somebody lined up no matter what. So
he's not a warrior. He's a politician, businessman. There's nothing wrong with businessmen. You can have a warrior businessman, but that corporatized, rising through the hierarchy at all cost type businessmen. There's some very honorable businessmen. Don't get me wrong, but it's that corporatization, politician, assassin type thing.
Yep.
So what do you think about this one, about Shelby's question here?
There has to be a counter to what the defense is doing. Which defense? Our defense?
Yeah, no, the opposing defenses are playing high leverage, playing pass, not blitzing.
Oh, there is. I mean, and that's kind of what we did for a few games there against like the Raiders and the Patriots and the Rams even. And it wasn't the counter, obviously, to the too high shell and the high coverages is the run game, number one. Because you have another guy back far. And I mean, that's a simple answer, but you have to be able to do it. And obviously short passing game, wheel routes, outside passes in the flats, coming across the middle. If you stay, depending on where those linebackers are, like you said, staying directly underneath them, get between them and the quarterback. And you take your little nitpicky way up the field. So, I mean, that's usually the counter to it. It's just a matter of, do we have an extremely accurate quarterback? Well, yeah. So if we have that, then we have the ability to counter that too high shell. but you need to really punish them.
Well, the thing is too, is what you do is if you're playing that too high shell, and there's a lot of looks within that too high shell and how you play it.
Yeah.
But when you're playing that look with high leverage over coverage and you're dropping 7, you can pass and you'll matriculate down the field and you might even score, but that won't change the philosophy, because even that too high shell with the linebackers there, it's a safe way, and it's a feasible way of dealing with those short passes. It might not get it every time and stop it in 3 and outs, but it's going to force you to be consistent. And we have penalties, and all you have to do is but the main way, and people, maybe I'm not articulate enough and I got to work on that, but I don't believe we should be teacup power football. But even if you're playing 3 wides and they're playing their cover 2 high leverage and they play the ends, outside, they're playing in 5 and 6 technique and stuff. You've got to run that A and B gap, because once you start running inside, you're wearing them down physically. And so when you tire them out, because if you throw the football, you're tiring the defense out with endurance. But when you run that football, you're beating on the bodies. And the body blows really don't – you can sit on the sidelines and get your wind if a team's throwing the football a lot quicker than if they're balanced or pounding it out on you, because then your body's getting tired. And then once you hit the half, you can beat up enough, that tiredness sets in. And then that's how you can kind of open things up in the second half or in the third and fourth quarter. It's got to be run inside. And we just don't have the linemen to get the wins consistently enough for them to change what they're doing. We don't even really get much run blitzes. Nope. And so it has to be to run inside. And it doesn't mean that we go to full, we're, run. We're like, the Titans or something, but it's got to be enough that they say, hey, we got to creep up. We got to blitz. And then once they blitz or they creep up, you make the right call. And that's when you get it over them. You expose them. And now they're in a 2-way go where we got to stop the run. We got to stop the pass. What are we doing? And there's that uncertainty that gets them on their heels.
And then you get the hesitation. And
that's what it's all about.
Like you were saying there with our O-line, a team can build 2 different types of O-lines in football. You can build a smaller, fast, maneuverable offensive line, and that's built for, that's built for outside zone running, outside of the tackles. And you can build that, or you can build a smash mouth offensive line, big linemen that aren't necessarily fast, but can move forward at an incredible rate and move through anything. So, and unfortunately, what Chris Greer has done is built an outside zone crew of linemen, and these guys they're smaller. For the most part, we have a small offensive line. They're very fast, and they work well for the outside zone, but they don't work very well when you're trying to, like you said, run in that 1 or 2 gap of the A and B. It's not as effective in that situation. And most teams have a few players that they can sub in or out, to be able to handle different types of football. And unfortunately, right now, our offensive line struggles with the inside running. And that's what we see on TV. We see it.
Well, the thing is too, it's like, to me, I was a running back. But the most fascinating unit in the game of football is the offensive line. And there's so many ways to go. If you look and go back, one of the most successful, recently heavy outside zone teams was the Falcon team back with Ryan. But they had Mack at center. And so you can build, you don't need to have just, inside big boys or fast outside guys. There's lots of ways of doing it. Some teams, they'll have very big tackles and now small maneuverable center and guards, or maybe a big center, 2 small guards, and then 2 big tackles, or to have 2 big guards, 1 small, there's many ways to do it. And really, to me, balance is the key. You don't want to be,
Sure.
Destined to do inside zone all day.
No.
Run between A and B. You got to hit the outside, but you can't be forced just to do outside. And with us, the double conundrum is that we can run outside, but mostly it's because the running backs are so fast they get to the edge, but there's no cutback. And when you run outside zone, you've got to threaten that inside. I forgot who it was. It was such a brilliant statement. I wish I could remember. He's like, where's the ball going? Everywhere on outside zone, every single hole all along the cutback. And if you go back to the Broncos, I mean, they did it cheaply. They would hold guys and cut them down and all this also. It was like stuff they can't do anymore. But if that back end is not a threat, then everybody just flows. And so you got to kind of hold guys that can't over pursue. And so we have very little cutback. Yep. And so we designed it for outside zone, but really only the outside. It's not even outside zone, just outside.
Yep.
And so that's a problem.
You want that initial step by your middle linebackers on defense to be towards the line of scrimmage and not to the outside in the float.
Yep.
You want them to initially, as soon as they see that ball getting handed to the running back, you want them to think, here he comes. And then you don't want them to think, time to slide to the outside. You want them to react that way if they're going to react, but you don't want that initial step to be anywhere other than towards the line of scrimmage when they know it's a run play. That gives that outside zone all the space and all the credibility to be able to do what they need to do in that situation. Can't do it without a good, strong ability to run up the middle sometimes.
Yeah, and you got to threaten. That's the whole thing with football. Yep. It's got to be 4-point tension. You've got to threaten every area because it's that stretching of the defense that creates the holes. Hey, Cody, my man, don't worry. It's just a one-day dalliance. But remember, he's an offensive lineman. He's German, Cody. I don't know, man. I don't know. So what do you think? Can you answer this one? Cody's the best guy in the world, man. I love this dude. Patrick Paul looks like he might actually be a good pick for Greer. What do you think? What's your assessment of Paul so far?
He hasn't had a whole lot of playing time. And I mean, I personally, my gut feeling about him, I think he's going to be legit. I think that he needs a little bit.
What does that mean? What do you mean by legit? Like what's the, what level you think he's reaching? I mean, look, who knows? I'm just saying, this is what it's about. You got to make stuff up and just say like what you think from your gut. Are you seeing like a guy, hey, he can play, he's gonna be really good? What do you think? Give me the full fleshed out.
I think if you put him in right now to replace Teron Armstead, if he had to for the rest of the season, I think he'd be serviceable. I think he can play right now. Do I think he's going to be, Pro Bowl level this year? No, probably not. But I think he'll be serviceable, and I think that when he's on the field, he shows enough strength and ability to be able to hold off some of these better defensive linemen that you're seeing in the NFL. I do like him a lot. He does have he's getting fast hands. I love it. I like seeing that on a lineman. The ability to get the hands up and get them where you need them to be. I like him. I think that he could end up being, and see, I feel like I'm just kind of, this is the hopium that you talk about. I feel like he could be, a Pro Bowl type of player soon.
He's got the size and the length and all that.
Yeah. He's got the tools.
Yeah.
It's just
for the most part. There's some, I still have a little bit, not concerned, but I'm like, hey, I need to see some areas. To me, he's still a little raw, but you can see the guy is super smart. He's super conscientious, big, long, so there's a lot of potential.
Let's not get rid of him. Yeah, I think that we need to keep developing him for sure. I like him. He's a good dude.
Yeah,
and he's smart too. That's what I like about.
Well, that's the key. We usually get smart guys, but they're all Mr. Finesse and
right.
Like a fish or something that's constantly like Jackson's. I think Jackson's a great kid, man. I think he's such a smart guy and good kid. But there's something that like there's some missing in that the cement in his body. He's got this thing where he's just still gets pushed around a little bit too much. But Paul, I think I've seen more ability to me, that's the core of football players' ability to handle power. I mean, they don't have to be powerful, but can you handle power? And Jackson still can't. Eichenberg can't. Brewer can't, in my opinion. Jones can, but then he's got all the weaknesses. But I do like Paul.
Let's not talk about Eichenberg. I got issues with that guy. I have been at a point where I've been like, well, maybe he'll do this. Maybe he'll be able to make this step so many times, and then it just turns into letdown after letdown. You can't have linemen like that. I really am not a fan of Eichenberg.
No, he's not good.
No.
He's a good kid. He's a nice kid, but I'm just astounded that, people actually fight to say he's quality player. And just think about the investment, time-wise, capital-wise, and then the production. I think somebody put out how most of our pressure is coming through the guards, and he's gotten a little bit better, but.
Oh yeah. Do you want to hear that stat?
Yeah.
I have it right here.
Ooh.
So, pressure allowed by Dolphins offensive linemen. And this is interesting. Now, this is a kind of a compliment for Aaron Brewer in here too. For the center, Aaron Brewer, 270-pound center, very, very small center. He has allowed 0% of the Dolphins offensive line pressure. Of the pressure on the quarterback.
That doesn't make any sense, though. He's got pressures allowed.
It says it's 0 to 5%. It says 0 to 5%. It says the left and right guards have allowed 57% of the pressure. Left and right guards, that's our problem. And it says 43% for the left and right tackles and the tight end.
What's that? Where's that from?
That was on Twitter.
Yeah, I saw that. I don't know.
Network, I think,
because I know that even from the stunts I've been watching, he I don't know. It's whatever it is. It's clear that our guards aren't good enough.
Right, and I know that Aaron Brewer has let people through.
Oh,
I know that. Yeah.
But whatever, yeah.
But I do believe that 57% on those guards, that seems about right to me after you watch a few games.
Well, again, it just goes back to, I'm a nobody. You know what I mean? Like, I do this thing, whatever, but I'm not these guys. Why would you have Robert Jones on your roster if he's not able to run outside zone the way you'd want, if he's not able to get to that second level and he struggles in pass protection? It's just like so bizarre. And it's not that he's a bad player. If you put him on certain teams as the right guard, you protect him in the pass game, you let him inside zone run, you're not really kind of using him so much and to get to the second level and get on the move that much. He could be a quality player. He can be a guy that's serviceable. But for us, he's like, and if you watch, we constantly roll Brewer to Eichenberg's side, and then we're leaving Jones to pass block one-on-one. It's kind of confusing.
Yeah, and then Jones ends up with a huge responsibility too when you have Aaron Brewer rolling off to the right or left. When you have him going the opposite way, that just leaves a lot of responsibility for poor Robert Jones. Yeah,
but it's not. That's like, a coach's job or designer's job is to hide the weaknesses and accentuate the strengths. As we get this, Jose, it makes you wonder when Tua says McDaniel closed his deal, then Cleus stays when we had a draft pick deal in place. It's like, who's making these decisions? It looks like there's a contention. There's a battle. Somebody was saying that McDaniel went to Ross and banged the table for Tua's extension, kind of went behind Greer's back. So now him and Greer are at odds. I don't know. But something's going on. I mean, there's, the fact, again, there's a lot of things we could say, there's no way that a GM is going to tell Shaq Barrett, we don't want your services, and know it's going to get into the media and not tell your defensive coordinator and head coach to let them go to the podium and get their pants down. Like it just doesn't happen. You don't even tell them. Like, you're in the building, you just pick up the damn phone. So that was like, boop, 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 screw you. That's all it was.
And that was a day or two before.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes.
dude.
So there's a lot of stuff going on back here. Again, this is what we've always been. Go back. Ross, he felt like he was nervous around Tua, so he didn't offer him an extension. And then so Tua thought he was trying to stick it to him, and he called him too much Hollywood, and they separate. And then he goes for Harbaugh with Sperano, and then gives Sperano the extension so he can keep him. And then you got Dawn Aponte arguing with Ireland and arguing with Philbin, and he wanted to build this corporatization of separation of powers. And then you go into the next thing with the Bullygate, and then you go into the next thing with Crazy Gates, No, then you got Hickey. Then you get nobody wants to be a GM here. Then you get Dennis Hickey here for 1 year, and you use him just as like to wipe you behind so you can get another person in the next year so you can kind of clear the air. You fire him after 1 year, like totally screw him over there, Hey, we're just using you for a year. Then you get Gase, and then you sell him control the roster just to get him in here. And then you get Tannenbaum. Then you bring in Greer and Tannenbaum and Ross, Gase each have separation of powers, and there's a whole thing there. Then you get Tannenbaum out, and you got Gase and Greer. Then they separate, and you get the story about Gase banging the tables to Ross. I know more than football than you. That like leaks out, you know what I mean? Yep. But then even Ross is like, I really respect all that Gase has done. So then you go into the next thing, and you get Flores, and they're gonna, Ross like, I'm out of business. I'm out of football business. And then you find out he is in football business, and then you find out, they separate. They have him looking Brady in the background. They're trying to get Watson. They're blaming Flores when he had no control in 2021.
Oh, thank goodness that didn't happen.
Oh, yeah, that was crazy. I was startled like this. Some people told me that, like, we had to do this. So then you have Greer cuts Vinoy to spite Flores, ships out Flowers. Then he gets Eichenberg to be a tackle. The staff evaluates him a guard. Then he ends up being tackle anyway. Then they separate. They get rid of him, Flores, and he's got dead bodies in the basement. And Ross is standing going, we're going to be looking for a coach. And if, Tua's our guy, well, let's see if the coach wants him. Meanwhile, they got Peyton, and Peyton said on the offseason he didn't like Tua, and they had Brady, so they were going to get rid of Tua. Nobody says anything after that. That's all caught and found out. And then you go into, Boyer is released. Well, he's 1 year. He's no good. Oh, okay, I got it. Then you bring Fangio, and McDaniel wanted Fangio, and you bring Fangio in here, and everything's like, oh, that's all really good. We're doing good. And then all of a sudden he starts shipping guys to the practice field, and Fangio doesn't even know that they're coming there. He just sends them there. As you go into the playoffs, then he goes, and then the players coming out. He's a bad guy. He doesn't know anything. He just wanted to get out of here. And then you get Awesome Weaver, and now you got this. It's like the same as the same as the same.
Yeah, and the Fangio thing, that like you said, you got to admit when you're wrong. Well, the Fangio thing, they tricked me. I'll admit, in this offseason, I thought that what everybody was saying about Fangio and everything like that, I thought that was how it was. I was wrong. I don't think that Fangio. I don't think that Fangio was the one that was at fault with that whole situation anymore. And I was wrong there because I really thought it was his fault. I don't think it was now.
It's Greer screwing people over. That's what he does. He screwed over Gailey. Oh, I forgot even to put that in there. They forced Tua in 2020. And that's in a whole nother saga. Like, it's just so many layers. Just think about in 2020. Shane Gailey is like legendary. And he's not even consulted about the insertion of Tua. Flores is a control freak. Everybody finds out through the media before he can even tell the team. He didn't make that decision. And then he says, all my coaches are coming back. And 2 days later, a fake chef account comes out. One tweet, and ESPN runs with it. That Gailey is fired. Like, come on. There is some serious scumbaggery going on from Greer and the Dolphins media. It's just clear. Not to say Fangio or Flores are like, angels or whatever. None of these guys are. You're describing someone narcissistic personality. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But all these guys, anybody in football has got an ego. You have to.
Yep.
And sometimes it can get out of control. All these guys, it's a very stressful job. I mean, look at Tua. Tua's about as nice a guy. When he came in, he was like answering the questions from the media like they're his friends, and he was telling the truth and being open and honest. But even look when he came back from the concussion, he was like, you could tell he was a little bitter.
Well,
And he was, yeah. So that's one little thing. Just imagine what these guys are under. So,
yeah,
Fangio's a hard guy. I'm sure Fangio's not Mr. Peaches and Cream, but you don't take a legend and just trot out players onto his practice field heading into critical games in the postseason without even like saying they're coming. That's a total like, I'm in charge. Screw you. It's like totally disrespectful.
Yeah.
Chris Grier's scum. Guys, he's not a good person to work with. I'm sure he's a wonderful father. I'm sure he's a wonderful husband. I'm sure if you met him for brunch or whatever, he'd be a fantastic guy to hang out. But he is very insecure. He'll cut you from behind and he'll dump you to save himself. And he's not honorable.
And he's done it in the past.
Oh, over and over and over.
Yeah.
He just wants to keep his job. Look, when Ross was doing all this thing in the background, he hired Flores. He just said, no, you can't do this. This is my reputation. This is my relationship. This is not acceptable. But he wouldn't do that because he wants to keep his gig at all costs. Here, you want to get this one, bro? I've been talking for a while.
Do I think that Liam Eichenberg is re-signed next year and starts again? He's a quality backup, not a starter. Well, I'd agree with that. He's definitely not a starter. He might be able to start for one or two teams in the NFL, but I don't think he's a starter. I agree with you there. I hope he doesn't start again. Honestly, I really hope that we find some better options, even if that is going deep into the draft. We have a lot of draft picks this year, a lot. And I feel like we can get a lot of quality linemen. And even if they're not 100% quality, we can do better than Liam Eichenberg. I mean, you could dip into free agency for a couple $1 million and do better than
he got paid $4 million this year.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You can cut that in half, get a better lineman, and dump him to the curb. I mean, like I said, I liked when the videos you see of Liam Eichenberg hanging around the field talking to everybody. He's a super nice dude.
Yeah, 100%.
His brother's cool too. For the Raiders, I think is where he plays.
Yeah,
they're both awesome dudes. But yeah, but I think he needs to go, and I don't think he should even be a backup for us anymore.
If I was a coach, he wouldn't be on my team.
Right, and I think this is the year where he's either going to get re-signed or we can dump him. And I think that we should go ahead and let him go.
He's a free agent. If we re-sign him, to me, I think that he's like the canary in a coal mine that says we're not about winning football. We're about something else. Because there's no way that you're sticking with this guy this long. And even look at Jackson. Jackson is not worth $12 million. That's crazy.
No.
Crazy. But it's all about – and look, Grier's father had a falling out with Tua. Very similar to the Flores thing. They got Carroll in here. And then there was a battle between the coach and the GM about playing certain players, and he would have players come out and go against them and talk to the owner. There was a whole Civil War division. And then ultimately Belichick came in and fired Grier's father. And then he went to Texas. And the Houstons is why you think we have all these relationships and all these deals and trades. And why do you think we were doing even part of the Watson thing? Because of all the connections through Grier's father with Houston. So Eichenberg it's insane. And I think part of the reason we didn't sign Zach Tom is because he would have taken either Jackson or Eichenberg's job, like no problem. And so it's more about that than anything. Because if you look at 2022, we had through a clean time 2.35 seconds. And we had 10.7 yards per attempt, average depth of target or something like that. Yeah. It's crazy high. But then we had to start lowering the depth and speeding it up to compensate for something. But that was our most prolific season. Why wouldn't we create that again and accentuate that instead of shortening everything up? It's because we had to, if we wanted to keep Jackson, we wanted to keep Eichenberg. This offensive line can't protect that long, especially now that you lost Connor and Hunt.
Yeah, and this comment here, if Paul was, that's not necessarily true, and I'm not like, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but Paul has only played one position on the offensive line. That's it. And the position he plays is dominated by Teron Armstead. So, I mean, next year, I mean, I guarantee you we're going to see Paul starting.
Yeah.
I don't see. Yeah, he's going to.
If not, then there's major problems.
Now, the only reason they haven't put Paul on the other side is just because he's very familiar with one side of the offensive line, and anybody who's played offensive line, I mean, it's hard to go to the other side. You get your whole body trained up to react a certain direction and take that initial first step a certain direction in those moves, and then you go to the other side. It's a totally different game, and it can be a difficult transition even if you're playing the same position, just opposite side. So
yeah, and I also think too, he is raw. He's got some technique things. He's got holes in his game that will be exposed by the pros.
Yeah.
And it's not something you can't clean up, you know, and I'm not saying he's going to clean it up, but I don't think it's indicative of him not being able to play, because there's plenty of good offensive linemen that don't come out of the box and play right away, that they develop and then they grow into it. It's a very complicated position, especially when you're playing with all that open space and you're that big. When you're that big, and he's pretty high cut, it's very difficult, especially when you got a guy like Tu who's got an injury history. And so I think that if we're saying this next year, Armando, then I think I agree with you. But I would give it till next year. But there's a little complication because Teron, you can't release him until post-June with all that money. If you do pre-June,
right,
you hit too hard. So I think that's going to be the key for him is next year. But I think at the very least, you've got a guy that's serviceable.
Yes.
Yep. You know, I think that's at the very – I don't know if he's going to be a Hunt. You know, but Hunt had to go inside. He can't go inside. He's too tall. But I think he's going to be. It wasn't a terrible pick. I don't think it can be. I think he's going to be at least serviceable with more upside, depending on a few things. And I don't want to say anything because I spoke about it at the beginning of the season, but I haven't done enough study of what he's been doing since then to stick with that or not. So I think this season coming up is going to be the tell.
I'm really excited to see him play throughout this off season and watch him grow to next season. I want to see that.
Yeah.
That's going to be exciting to see.
Yeah. We got to give him, he's a guy because you knew who he was. He's a guy that it was very clear. He's, you know, huge upside, clear holes, needs development. Give him a red shirt next year. I think that's going to be the tell. We'll see. But I tend to lean because of his conscientious nature and his intelligence and his size. You could put him at a tackle spot, and then you know if you have like an inside zone balanced, you know, some outside zone, and you protect him with the tight end and give him help here and there depending on the matchups and stuff like that. You know, you're going to be able to get something out of this kid. He's not going to be a wash, you know. He's not. I don't think he's going to be a wasted pick. Hey, Carlo, what's going on? We need the best backup out there. We need a late-round pick as a QB that has similar. Yeah, well, that's the key. You got to either get a guy who processes really fast. If you're going to go with this offensive line and this philosophy, which I think is totally bonkers, you need either a fast processor or a guy with a fast release. And I like Tua. I don't think I'm not saying he's great or the best thing since the best thing ever came. I think he's got elite traits. I think he's had a terrible framework, but you can't deny he's got injury history. Yeah. And it is nuts to go with Skyler and White and Huntley. I mean, like, they don't even fit. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it doesn't make any sense. I totally agree. I don't know about, depends on like what we are though, Carla. So like if Greer returns and we're trying to make a go of it next year, you need a vet. You can't bring a rookie in, you know. I believe that even with Tua, you should, if somebody like Bo Nix falls to you at 15, damn it, draft him anyway.
Yep.
You know, you could use that, you know, you can use that talent. You can, you know, if Tua is the best guy ever, then you develop Nix and you get your draft. You always get more if you develop properly.
Yeah, exactly. And
hey,
everybody was.
I was going to say hi to my man Steve. Steve, what's going on, sir? Great, always great to see you. Steve's the best. Steve Malloy, check his channel out. He's awesome, man. Great guy.
I'll do that.
Yeah, he's great. Steve's awesome.
And I always talk about Tua, and I just wanted to say really quick. I mean, everybody says yes, it definitely has injury issues, has that history, and that's there. But also, I don't think Tua has reached his ceiling yet.
No,
I don't think he's there yet. And so, you know, yeah, you of course, like you said, if you get a Bo Nix or somebody like that showing up in the draft and it's at our spot, man, take him. Get what we can. But I think you're right. I think we do need a veteran QB to be in there at the backup position. What's Matt Moore doing?
Oh, I know. He got screwed. I thought we could have done something with him. I'd like to see him get more. I think he had some potential.
I do too.
Hey, Carlo. Carlo keeps giving me some good bits of info. I didn't hear this. McDaniel has been saying that Greer has input if Chubb can play this weekend. So he's dictating influence of the game day roster. McDaniel's hinting that Greer is the way. That's crazy. Yeah, Greer's in charge. Look, guys, Greer has been you know, I don't want to offend anybody, but he's been here 24 years. You think that Gase, who's a first-time head coach, or even, you know, but he was the hot guy, and, you know, Ross loved him, so there was that. But you think that Flores, a defensive coordinator for 1 year, rookie coming in here, had the juice to push Greer around, who's entrenched in the Dolphin franchise? Come on, you know, give me a break. And then you think that McDaniel has got power and juice? What do you say? I don't know if I'd ever get this chance again. That's why I took it, $10 million. I set myself up for life. He was plan C or D. He wasn't all plan A. It wasn't some grand scheme. Peyton and Brady was number one. Then we look at all the coaches. They all didn't show up. All the veteran coaches said, no, thank you. And we had one, I forgot who it was. We had one meeting with one veteran coach, and he was like, no, I'm not coming back. And then we went to the C squad, and those guys didn't want us. And then we went to the D squad. We went to McDaniel. He's not coming here throwing his weight. Greer's got all the power. Greer knows it. That's why he's confident. That's why he could screw Fangio over. Yeah. So, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, and poor McDaniel, he didn't know. He had no idea what he was getting into. So that instantly gives me a little bit of goodwill towards Mike McDaniel, because I'm sure he knows it now. But I don't think he knew when he came on board.
No. Well, yeah, I just think he said, hey, dude, I'm getting paid $10 million a year or whatever. Yes. Screw it, man. You know, yeah, of course I'm going to do it, you know, and they were desperate. And don't tell me that they didn't have people, image consultants and vetting the analytics saying, we got Flores, you know, and he's Mr. Hardcore guy defense. Who can we get is the exact, Mr. Woody Allen over here. The fans will like, and they'll identify with him. They, you know, help us get us endearment to them. We're going to lose draft picks. We're getting caught for this stuff. We totally lied to their face at the podium. We get all this like besmirching across the NFL. We got to do something to massage our image. I'm sure that played a part as well. And he just said, you know, hey, I'm coming in. And they wanted to raise ticket prices. They knew they wanted to raise. It's not like in 22 they said, oh, you know what? Next year we're going to raise ticket prices. They knew for years in advance, we want to raise these ticket prices. And all of a sudden it didn't happen. They didn't get Brady. They didn't get Peyton. So they went out and got Tyreek, and they had this whole offense thing. And then they used Tua, poor Tua, you know, and look how good he is. And playoffs, we'll do it. And then 30%, let's raise those ticket prices. That's all. None of these people are brilliant. They're master businessmen. They're not like just, one day, we're going to do this. Everything's got a plan. Everything's got, whether it's coherent or sane, that's a whole other thing. But they do everything for a reason. And McDaniel is just part of the image massage.
Yep.
Just because you can't play. Paul can't play inside. Neither can Tehran. If you put Tehran at guard, they break him in half. He can't. He's got to be away from that scrum. His knee is so bad. And then Paul's too tall. He can't even get into a 3-point stance. He's gotten a little bit better at it, but he can't play guard. So you can't play him together. Just it's not gonna.
And like I said, it's really hard for a lineman to learn a new position. And that is the one thing that I'll say nicely about Eichenberg is when they put him over at center, that's a hard switch. And center is a very difficult position to play. So I'll give Eichenberg that. I'll say nice job there. But, man, it's hard to switch positions for a lineman.
It's totally hard. And even if you – so, like, certain guys, you got to remember their physical prototype. If you can't even you have trouble getting into a 3-point stance, you've got to be in a great stance at the guard and center position. You've got to get leverage because those D tackles, those guys are shorter too. It's all about leverage. And he's 6'7", 6'8". He'll never play guard. I mean, you have to be a super. There's this guy, I can't remember his name. He's with the Ravens. He's their right guard. He's 380 pounds and 6'8", but you go look at him in his stance, it's unbelievable. But you've got to have you got to get your butt low, get those knees cocked. You've got to you can't come down. You can't shoot out and come down underneath the guy. Guy can't get on it. You got to come out and get under him. So
you want the helmet at the numbers. That's what you want for a guard. And that's Patrick Paul would be not good for that. Neither would Tehran. Nope.
Well, I think it, Dad, the biggest problem is that even if we go jumbo, and I've been talking about this since 2021, we don't have tight ends who can block, and we don't have any real drive blockers. So even if you go jumbo, like maybe you'll get a little bit here or there, but if you go jumbo, then you take away your speed, and then you're going to match up your power with their power, and you got no power. So it doesn't really work out. Like it's not an asset. You know, it's not just the size of the bodies, it's what the bodies can do. And our bodies, they're just not designed to move anybody.
And that big backs thing, well, yeah, I mean, what people I don't think sometimes realize, and maybe you do, but we have running backs that can run inside game.
Oh, yeah.
We have a couple of them. And it's
who are they? Tell us who they are.
Well, number one, Mostert is a beast on the inside run game.
100%.
I have never – okay, I'll say this about Raheem Mostert. He has one of the best accelerating attacks in the NFL, which means from the time he starts his initial reaction off the snap to the time he takes the ball, the dude is almost at full speed.
Yeah.
It's unreal, the speed that he –
Man, I like you. You're touting Mostert. I know he fumbles the football, but this guy's an animal. Yeah. Thank you, man. Thank you.
No, and he's an older gentleman too, but man, that guy can still run the ball. And he's got good vision. So that's my main thought is that Mostert can handle the big back play. It's just
even Wright. I like Wright too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. He's punishing. Yeah. He can bounce off tackles.
Say what you want about Greer, but Achane and Wright were too darn good. And bringing Mostert in for the low price. Those three.
Yeah.
Ace moves.
Yep, and the Mostert thing, I think that was a lot of McDaniel too. Obviously, come where he came from. But the running backs there. We have a great running back room. I have no complaints about our running backs.
No, we got no. It's all. That's a whole thing. It's the offensive line sets the running backs. You know what I mean? Like, if you've ever run behind a line that sucks or a bad blocking, man, it's not fun. You know, Barry Sanders, he would make, some big numbers, but then he's like -1, 2, -4, 3, 50, but that's not a consistent. It's Emmett was like, he had the greatest offensive line, maybe in the top 3 in the history of the game. The offensive line, yards before contact, if you actually break down the yardage and the depth, it tells you so much, and this is why we always struggle with these big backs inside running backs, because they don't have the wiggle to get through the bad blocking. So,
ooh, that's a good point down there. Look at that.
Which one?
says if we let Armstead and Chubb go, Chubb is a post-June cut as well. He is, but the one thing I want to say about the Chubb thing, Bradley Chubb could very well be willing to take a restructure and a pay cut to stay on with the Dolphins. He very well could be, and I'm not speaking for him. Obviously, I don't know, but with what happened and the way that with how patient Miami has been with him, he very well could feel almost obligated or willing to take a pay cut just to stay here. And we got to remember he did play pretty freaking well before he got hurt.
Yeah, the one caveat on that is he had Wilkins, Sealer, and Phillips.
Yeah.
So, right. But he wasn't play that good the year before. He did pretty good.
You're right.
You know, but that's like an all-star string of talent right there.
Definitely.
But maybe I don't know what the numbers are. I gotta because he could just walk away with like $20 million and go play somebody. I don't know what the numbers are.
I think I think it's 18 or 21 somewhere in there. I think you're right.
That's in his pockets, but just not. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. You're gonna walk out for 18, 20 million and go to another team, or you're gonna like take a pay reduction? He's like 30 years old now. How long do you think this guy's playing?
I know that in the interviews and stuff they've had that he really likes Miami. Like not just the team. I mean, obviously, yeah, who wouldn't? But I mean, with somebody who's fallen in love with the city and the people there and everything, he very well could be willing to. And if he is, that's something that I think they should explore.
Yeah.
Especially if he gets back in this season and plays, decent. I'm not expecting much just because he's been out for so long.
Yeah. Well, Greer would have to do that because then he could just justify, well, look how smart he is. He would definitely. Greer would definitely do that. Makes you wonder if McDaniel wanted Fangio from year one.
Mm-hmm.
That was his dream guy.
Yep.
And even like when you go back and you look at it, like read the statement. It's like, yeah, we talked about it and thought it was of course he didn't want him out.
No, that was not McDaniel at all.
No, Greer's in charge, guys. Yeah. Come on. Greer's in charge. Greer needs to show he's a tough guy. He needs to show he's in charge and he's powerful.
Did you watch that interview, the press conference after Fangio left, where McDaniel said that? He looked like he was about to cry.
Oh, yeah. He looked like he was a hostage victim.
Yeah, dude, he did not look happy.
It was like, one of those things where you see like the guys held hostage and he's reading a sign in front of him. Yes, I hate the fascist America. I came here looking at the gun every 2 seconds.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Greer's over there with his arms folded, just staring laser beams at him.
Yeah, well, it's fair. Look, we do this too often. We draft guys that take way too long to develop, and then they develop, and it's like, we waited this long for this? But you got guys, look at Phillips first year, not so hot. Yeah, I had people were raving about the sacks, but he was terrible in the run game. Year 2, he was really good. Year 3, he was exploding. Year 2 was phenomenal. Van Ginkel. You didn't see anything about him. You saw some blips on the radar the last 4 or 5 games, and then the next year he came back. It was phenomenal. So there's a little bit of both. I think we have a tendency to get more of like too long development and not getting our returns. But I would definitely give it one more year with this guy. I do have some concerns. I think it's fair. It's not like, oh, he's definitely going to be this or whatever. But I lend towards this guy's going to do something good. I'm glad, Steve. You're a real honorable guy, man. You really are. I really appreciate getting to know you. I'm glad you reached out to me, man. Good guy. First podcast I was on, live podcast, and then Dudley Do-Wrong. I went from you. You set me up. I think it was you being on your show got me on the Dudley Do-Wrong show. So you're the man. I'm going to be on. I'm going to have you on here soon, Steve, and I'm going to be on your show. Definitely check out Steve. Good guy. McDaniel said earlier in the week in a presser. You know what? I don't tune out on the film of the game, but I tune out on this stuff at this stage because like I was dialed in with the Flores and Greer stuff, man. And I just felt like it took years off my life. It's like, I got to watch everything these guys say, but I appreciate Carl. Please keep feeding me this info.
That's funny. That whole thing with McDaniel. He is so strange in press conferences, and
Oh, we really would.
everybody takes that. They listen to those I'm not saying Carla, but in those press conferences, a lot of the media takes that as this is how McDaniel is. He's just a.
Yeah.
He's really not. If anybody's watched some of that, some of the behind the scenes and stuff from what's that show?
Yeah, when he's just
Hard
talking
Knocks.
football. When he's talking football.
Yeah, Hard Knocks, or even when he's doing the breakdowns for Miami Dolphins media,
Yeah.
he is a different person.
Yeah, well, he's really smart and eloquent when it comes to football.
Yeah.
And then when he's in the like me, this is not if you guys see me when we talk, if I meet you in person, the guy I look at the camera, I feel like it's when you got to sit there with that stupid. I hate these cameras. I hate seeing my face. I hate being in front of the thing. It totally like my brain starts seizing up when I do it. I'm a different person. But if I see you and I'm talking about all this stuff, then all of a sudden, like, who is this guy? Like, I mean, it's sort of me, but it's like I'm not free. I'm not totally being me, and so I can see that because I've heard him. He's very eloquent when it comes to football stuff. But he's got to dance around all the topics and say the right things. Yeah. Like even me, like I can't say that. Like I'm editing as I'm talking. I'm like think you're not fully yourself. So
that's interesting.
Yeah, they don't want him to get hurt. They don't want to pay him. Korea, probably.
I was gonna say I think McDaniel
that's the right guard from the Ravens. So I can't say Daniel. I can't say the other thing, man. Oh wait, whoa, hold the presses. Reese's, man, 999, man. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. You're the best, man. I really do appreciate it. You are one of the best podcasters out there. You can call me a monkey, whatever you want for $9.99, brother. Here's some cheer to having Miami beat the Jets. Yeah, I think we beat them. I appreciate that, Reese's. I really do, man. Yeah, I really do. You're a good guy. Should put a question in there, though, man. You're paying. Should have got a freebie focus on you question. Yeah, I think we beat if we don't beat the Jets, man, that's like DEFCON 75, man. This is like we're doomed.
I have this was from my video. That's what I got right there for the prediction. Yep. We'll see if it happens.
Yeah, I don't know, man. The Jets, it's crazy. I don't think I've ever seen a team with the talent they have underachieve like this. This is, leave it to them to actually play their second or third real game of the season against us. But I've never seen a team with that much talent underachieve. It's almost like I just can't. It's a puzzlement wrapped in a conundrum, wrapped in an enigma. I can't figure it out. So maybe
Aaron Rodgers is a terrible head coach and GM. I mean, that's what we figured out here. That's all I got there.
Maybe I don't know. I don't. He didn't want Saleh fired. People said he wanted Saleh fired, but then the owner wanted him. The owner was saying bench Rodgers. So how much juice did he have to get Saleh fired?
Well, this is where we need to be grateful for Stephen Ross. We've got an owner that cuts checks and for the most part stays out of business. Now you look over there at the Jets. Look at the Jets. I mean, that guy is all up in all the business. Showed up in a helicopter to. I mean, that's nuts. I mean, that whole team has got some major issues, but I don't think it was Saleh. I think Saleh was holding the defense together a little bit, and a little bit of that locker room. And now we see it just falling apart. I got a guy that I talk to frequently gets to go around, and he's credentialed with the New York Jets for media, and he said that every time he goes in that locker room, it's like you have to cut your way through the air. And it's he said it's so uncomfortable in that locker room.
In the Jets you're talking about?
The Jets locker room. Yep. He said it's so uncomfortable.
Well, where's that stemming from? Just the losses, what?
I think it's a bit of everything. And it seems, he didn't say it outright, and I'm not going to pretend that I know either, but he seems to kind of imply that 80% of it probably is Aaron Rodgers.
Really?
I think that there's a lot of discomfort with Aaron Rodgers on that team right now. I guess we'll see. I'm sure it'll come out eventually as soon as people start hitting doors. But I think there's a lot of discomfort there, for sure.
Something. I don't know. I can't say who is, but for me, I think that Rodgers, you could see who he kind of is. He's opinionated. He's not like Mr. Easy. But I also think that he's also the poster boy for certain people that want to make him look like to be the end all be all, because we heard that he got Saleh fired.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yep.
if he had gotten Saleh fired, that means he was in with the owner. But the owner wanted him benched by week 4. So that's not plausible. Your owner's not saying fire you, and then you're going to the owner, get rid of the coach. So there is certain stuff, I think, in the background that's is not, I think there's truth to it. There's got to be, where there's some smoke, there's smoke, there's fire. But I also think that there's an accentuation to that. I think there's more to this than meets the eye. I don't think it's all Aaron Rodgers, because ever since the whole vaccine thing, he's become like, he was like beloved, and he was like, he's great, he's going to Hall of Fame. And as soon as the vaccine thing, people didn't like what his stance was. All of a sudden, like, he was like, eating babies. He was with Flores eating dead bodies in the basement,
Yeah, kicking puppies.
Yeah. A Suit Hustle. Yep. Suit Hustle, man. Go check out my 2021 documentary, Suit Hustle. See if you think that resonates. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, but Mostert, like what Dirk the Daring or Dirk the Dolphin was saying, Mostert, I don't know, maybe he's heard of something, but he can run to the edge. He can catch, and he can go inside. I think you're right. We shouldn't have Achane there. We should have him more, because he's a 3-tool guy, and he could bring a little more wood than Achane. I don't think you want Achane's like a Porsche. You don't want him in a demolition derby.
No.
So yeah, I kind of agree. I didn't get your point. I'm sorry about that. Jose, the minute Rodgers turned down that hug, it felt like to me it was Rodgers saying solid message. I bring success now. Maybe. I thought that was weird.
Yeah,
that was weird.
Yeah.
I thought that was weird.
Yeah.
But we don't know. Again, to me, I just try to hold on what I can be certain of. That if the owner was trying to fire him by week 4, he's not telling the owner to fire the coach. So something's going on. Lots of things probably. So Aaron is showing his age. Yeah. I would say it's done. If you put him on look, and I've been saying this, Rodgers, his style of offense is the old cycle. Shotgun and pistol all day. That does not work. No, it does not work anymore. You've got to be able to under center. You've got to run the football. You just can't. He's in an old system. He's like the French with the Maginot Line, waiting for Germany to hit the fortress, and then they go through the back road. And what's this lightning warfare, blitzkrieg stuff? I think Rodgers, if you put him in a good run balanced system with him under center more, I think he's not who he used to be, but he's not trash. I mean, Mayfield is doing well. He's as good as Mayfield. He's as good as Darnold. But the Jets are not as good as Vikings or as Tampa.
Yeah, the Jets can't cover his mistakes like the other teams can.
No. And there's a lot of you've got to stop the inside run, which the Jets struggle with, and you got to run inside, and the Jets really can't. They're terrible in the run game. So, whoa, hold the presses. $20. Oh man, Reese's Pieces, man. You've got competition tonight. Oh, that's really, really that's really, really nice, man. I appreciate that, brother Armando. Come on, you got to put questions though, man. Put something up there. Call me a bozo, make me stand on my head, throw pies in my face for that kind of money. Get your money's worth, guys. Are you crazy? Armando, that's very, very nice, brother. I really appreciate that, man. I really, really do. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah.
Yep.
So, all right, before we go, I want you to just tell me about your channel. Tell me how to reach you. Tell me your overall. We're going to spend a few minutes now. Just let you talk. What do you see of the team this year? What do you see how we're going to finish the season? What do you see are direction going forward that you would prefer, and then talk about your channel because we should support it because I think you're a very smart guy, very likable guy, very interesting guy.
Sure. I mean, thank you. Like I said, you're one of the very few YouTube channels about the Dolphins that I can stomach listening to, and I really appreciate everything you just said. Noticed in your videos leading up to this live stream that you mentioned me a few times, and I appreciate everything that you said about me. And I don't know how true any of it is, but
don't worry about it. If I say it's true, so just let it be. You know.
No,
Dirk was I got pictures of Dirk walking on water.
I like I said, I've been a fan for so long, and I just noticed that there's just so much misinformation, uneducated type of takes being spewed all over the internet. There's so many angry YouTubers that seem to do nothing but complain and yell and scream and fire this, fire that. You know, this guy sucks.
I'm sort of there.
I'm there with Greer, but
Yeah.
you know, I got so tired of it, and of course I found a couple channels. I found your channel. I found Ugly Do-Wrongs, and I was just like, man,
great guy. Well, hold on. Listen, I, you go like you did with me. We talk.
Yeah,
the guy is a real nice guy, Doug. Real nice guy.
I actually was messaging him on Twitter. I was helping him find a bow because he wanted to start archery.
Nice.
So I helped him pick out a bow for
That's
archery
awesome.
off the internet. Anyway, I figured, it might be kind of fun to start my own channel. And a few months ago I did. And I figured I would do it with the thought that I was going to make a channel that maybe not total hopium. Obviously I talk about the good and the bad, but I wanted to make sure to take a positive approach to things and not just complain and complain and complain, because I know that there's a lot of fans like me that just don't want to hear nothing but complaining.
Yeah.
So, and positivity affects your life. And I've learned that firsthand. You make positivity from nothing and things come from nothing because of it. So I started a channel and, I cover each game. I talk about, keys to victory. I talk about, stats for the players, for the team, what I think is going to happen. In the off season, I'm going to cover all the off season stuff. And I just wanted to make a channel talking Dolphins like this right here. This is what I wanted. Something fun to do where I get to talk about my team, talk about the NFL. That's what this is all about. That's
great game. It's a great game. It's a great game.
Fantastic game. Football is the best thing in the world. I love it.
It is. Yeah.
So, and that's what it is. That's what my channel is. It's Frozen Fin Fan, and it's FIN, not PHIN. I had to do something different. Frozen because it's North Pole, Alaska. That's where I'm at. So,
he's got an interesting life, guys. You listen to him talk about it's really, really interesting. I don't like to blow. Well, I love do a bloviate a little bit about certain players. I've done that with Armstead and stuff like that. But he's very interesting guy and very smart.
Thanks.
Definitely check out his stuff. I think that's another thing too, is I haven't really caught all your stuff. I'm trying to, it's just very hard for me. I got like mental problems where like I fixate. It's hard for me to bring in all this stuff. I'm very slow to get to different things. But I have been listening to you. You should really make sure you incorporate more. I haven't heard, but incorporate your life, because I was just talking to you for like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And I was intrigued. And I just talking about all the different things, you bring a lot to the table. So beyond that, what's your overall evaluation of the season, of the remainder of the season, and what's your vision going forward into this offseason? Those 3 points, and we'll close out.
Well, I haven't thrown the white flag in just yet. I mean, I'm close. I got it in my hand. It's out of my pocket. I'm ready to start waving it around. But we do have a very favorable schedule coming up. And like I said, I'm not saying we're going to win every game. But if we want to make the playoffs and attempt to do something different than we've done the last 2 years, we have to. 9-8 is not going to make it. 10-7 gives us a chance. And if that happens, we have a chance to change some things. But even if we don't, I'm not a burn it down type of guy. I am a fire Chris Greer type of guy. And I think that doing that will work wonders for this team.
Yeah.
I think that If I had to pick, gun to my head, I would say we go 9-8 to finish the season and miss the playoffs by a half a game. And if that happens, that's what it is. We move into the off season, and hopefully Chris Greer will be gone. I mean, he might not be, but if he is,
At 9-8, I think he's back.
yeah, that's the bummer. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to be the tank for whoever type of fan. I'm never going to root for my team to lose. That won't happen. I don't care if we got the best quarterback in the world coming up in the draft. I'm going to root for us to win that last game.
Yeah. We're not a quarterback away.
Right, and that's exactly my point.
You can put any quarterback on his team, we ain't going nowhere.
No, one player ain't going to stop it. What I do think is I think that we need to get somebody else in there at GM, and I think we need to go and dig into that draft. And I think we need to not get rid of one pick. Keep them all. Yeah. Draft as many players as we can. And like I said, sometimes best player available isn't necessarily the best option. We have definite needs on this team. And I feel like if we get a proper GM that's not a F them picks type of GM, I think it'll benefit us a lot. So
yeah, I would move off Greer. I would move off Tyreek. I would try to trade as many assets as I could. I would stick with Tua. I think a good GM could come in here with the right coach, reset the foundation and philosophy in 1 year. Again, is not to say Flores, but in 1 year, Flores halfway through the season had one of the worst rosters I've ever seen. And by the halfway through that season, they were playing tough, and they upset the Patriots week 17 and kicked them out of the playoffs. So it would take 1 year to get the right coach in here. Again, I like Flores. I do. I think that he got bitter and he dumped it on certain players, and that was wrong. But I think he was totally screwed, and I can imagine, taking it out. I mean, sometimes, something's going on in my house and I got 50 things going on and my kids, I'm like, where's my damn, get out of my way. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, you got a human too, you know what I mean? So, but a guy like Flores who could then also have the right backing, who could also understand that you've got to have certain ways for different players, you could reset this thing in a year, and then the following year with that talent and development, you could be ready to re-roll again, I think.
Yeah, retool. That's what I like to say. Yeah. We need to retool.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of picks, and we have a chance to make some differences here and get a lot younger, and that'll help a bunch.
We got to. We're the oldest team in the league.
Oh,
with all these draft picks, that is like a sign you should just dump Greer. All those picks. And I think you got 2 picks on your defense. Only 2 guys on your defense that you drafted, and then you're the oldest team in the league.
Yeah.
With all those, just I don't want to get to it. It's good. We're on too late. All right, listen. So check out Frozen Fin Fan. Dirk Taylor, Dirk the Dolphin is a great guy. I really appreciate having you on.
Thank you.
Good guy, and gonna definitely do this again.
It was a blast. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, Armando, Reese's Pieces, thank you very much. I appreciate that, guys. I appreciate everybody with the comments. I learned so much from you guys. I'm very, very grateful for all the support that you guys give me. Cody, I'll see you next week. Joe, I'll see you next week. Catch you guys all later. Be well. Go Fins. Curtis out. And Dirk and Curtis out.
Fins up.